Hey, it's Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast here to tell you about Michelob Ultra Courtside. It's getting fans closer to the NBA with a chance to win prizes like courtside seats, a trip to All-Star Weekend, and much more. Check it out at MichelobUltra.com/courtside. Michelob Ultra Superior Access, Courtside 24-25 sweepstakes, no purchase necessary. Open to U.S. residents 21 and up. Begins on October 1st, 2024, ends July 1st, 2025. Multiple entry periods. Visit MichelobUltra.com/courtside for free entry deadlines, and official rules. Message and data rates may apply. Void where prohibited.
With Prime, you get fast delivery on everything for the holidays. From cookies for Santa to holiday vacay self-tanner to sequin dresses for a little holiday glamour to some cozy socks for grandma. Fast delivery. It's on Prime.
Sid and Friends in the Morning. 77 WABC.
I'm broke, but I'm happy. I'm poor, but I'm kind. I'm short, but I'm healthy, yeah. I'm high, but I'm grounded. I'm sane, but I'm overwhelmed. I'm lost, but I'm hopeful, baby. And what it all comes down to is that everything's gonna be fine, fine, fine. 'Cause I've got one hand in my pocket and the other one is giving a high five.
So you know why Lou Rubino is so great at his job? I believe he's the greatest engineer, board op, producer, sidekick, radio guy ever, because he listens. So when I mentioned the fact that I saw Alanis Morissette at Bethel Woods over the summer, we come back from a commercial break and boom, there's Alanis Morissette. So one of the first people I saw at Madison Square Garden after my speech, which most of you loved and some of you hated, that's fine, was Newt Gingrich. I love Newt. He's been coming on this show for a long time, from the days when he was stuck in Rome, Italy during COVID, the 50th Speaker of the House, one of the great politicians and really historians ever. You know, we got Bill O'Reilly coming up next, and his book is out, Confronting the Presidents, and it's an amazing book. It is. But you got to put Newt Gingrich right up there in terms of history with this country, politics, the president. I read this morning, Newt talking about Donald Trump, who's about to ring the bell this morning at the New York Stock Exchange. He said this: if you're a relatively sophisticated leader around the world and you watch 9 years of the rise of Donald Trump and you watch 2 impeachments and you watch all of these efforts to catch him in the law and you watch 2 assassination attempts and the guy just keeps coming. As I said the other day, this is a mythic figure, almost like the various Scandinavian Beowulfs and other kinds of sagas. There's no practical way you can explain Trump. Hopefully, Newt, he's in his car right now on the way down to the stock exchange listening to that, because that's quite a compliment right there, Mr. Gingrich.
Well, I don't know if it's a compliment so much as it's a description. It's a reality. You know, you tell me what explains a guy who, you know, gets back up, says fight, 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 and just keeps going. It's truly one of the most remarkable moments in American history. And it's only one piece of it. If it was just that, it would be pretty amazing. But then you go back and you look at 2 impeachments. Then you go and you look at all these legal efforts to destroy him. And every time you turn around, he's faced with adversity, and he bounces back and he gets on his feet and he keeps moving. And I think it is very extraordinary. There are very few political leaders in American history who are anywhere close to Trump.
Anywhere close. That's a big statement. And I'll say this, too, Newt. I was talking to Rich Lowry earlier. Now, I'm a relatively young guy. I'll be 58. It's good to me in April. But I don't ever remember a situation where the actual sitting president wasn't running the country, but the president-elect was. I mean, Biden can sit in that Oval Office all he wants. President Trump has basically been the president for the last 2 months.
Well, what's happened, I did a article at Gingrich 360 in which I said that he's the first de facto president in American history. Technically, de jure, under the law, Biden's still there till the 20th of January. But as a practical, functional way, Donald Trump is now seen by the world as the leader of the United States, and that's why you saw all the folks in Paris, and you saw Macron give Trump the full regalia of being the incumbent president. It was really remarkable.
He did. He gave him that rough handshake too, Newt, and then even Trudeau. I mean, look, here's where we are. If Donald Trump wants you to come to Mar-a-Lago, or forget about that. If Donald Trump, the president, is upset with you, you run to Mar-a-Lago like Trudeau did out of Canada. Biden, his administration, they got none of that. All these world leaders meeting with Trump, he's not even president yet.
Right. But I think functionally, the American people so decisively repudiated Kamala Harris, which I think is one of the great positive moments in modern America. And then Jesse Waters, and he had Joe Biden saying this should be a season of joy, and we both agreed we've been joyous ever since election night. So, you know, I mean, just ask your audience if Kamala had won, how different would the mood be right now?
Well, my audience would be devastated because we're a very pro-Trump audience. I'm not sure if NPR would be all that upset, or The View, or MSNBC, but I do think the majority of Americans, based upon the results, would be destroyed. I mean, I got to tell you, again, I don't know a lot about presidential history like you and O'Reilly. He dates back to a guy that was president during the Civil War. For me, Jimmy Carter was far end of the way the war as president, and this guy Biden makes Jimmy Carter look like Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, you'd have to say that Biden was probably the most destructive president since Buchanan, who's the president just before the Civil War. And so it was because he was weak. It was because none of his people had the guts to tell him that he really was cognitively challenged. He should not have run for re-election at all. And the values he turned out to believe in, you know, he went from being a sort of liberal, but you could talk to him guy in the Senate, to having ultimately under Obama drunk the Kool-Aid. And by the time he became president, he was the most left-wing, woke, kind of anti-American president, and he was so weak in foreign policy. I mean, the disaster in Afghanistan sent a signal to the world that the U.S. had a leader who was utterly incompetent and out of touch with reality. And that just made the world much more dangerous. I mean, it allowed Putin to think, hey, I can invade Ukraine, and it allowed all sorts of things to go on around the world that would not have gone on. It allowed Hamas to think that they could massacre Israelis. And when America's weak, the world very rapidly becomes more dangerous.
Agreed. Now, look, you knew Ronald Reagan pretty well, I would say. And most of the people in my generation, people my age, Republicans, are quick to say the best presidents of our lifetime, Ronald Reagan and President Trump, and maybe not in that order anymore. I don't know, now that Trump won his second term. Newt, give me the similarities between Reagan and Trump and maybe a stark difference.
Well, look, they both have great courage. They're both very persistent. They both know what they believe, and they don't worry about the world. Now, Reagan once said that he kept giving the same speech, and the world came around. He didn't change; the world did. They both took on great projects. I mean, Reagan had three goals: relaunch the economy, defeat the Soviet Empire, rebuild American civic spirit. And he focused on those three. And in terms of successfully achieving his goals, he's among the most effective of all American presidents. Trump is very different. First of all, Trump is not a reasoned Barry Goldwater, Bill Buckley conservative. Trump is the most effective anti-liberal in my lifetime. He instinctively understands as a businessman and as a common sense person that these folks are crazy. And so he reacts the way you should react to somebody who's crazy. And he has enormous courage. Partially because I think, this is my theory, now you're a New Yorker and I'm not, but part of my theory is he came out of Queens, he went to Manhattan, and the fancy folks in Manhattan never fully accepted him. And so he learned after a while to heck with them. He was just going to go ahead and get rich, be famous, be important, let him eat dust. And he learned to fight with page 6 on the New York Post, and he has this automatic counterpunch that he learned over the years, and he doesn't even think about it. You hit him, he automatically hits you back harder.
That is a great description, Newt. That is former Speaker of the House, the great Newt Gingrich. You're exactly right about him. That is him. And how about this? You've been around a while. You've been to, I'm sure, a bunch of inaugurations. He has invited Xi Jinping from China to the inauguration. I think he's going to come. I think before it's said and done, I would love to see like the front row at the inauguration, have Xi Jinping, have Putin, have the rocket guy from Korea, have them all just sitting there. But on a serious note, at the very least, it looks like the guy from China is coming. That's never happened before, has it? A foreign leader at an American president's inauguration?
To the best of our knowledge, and I just was looking at a study this morning, there's never been a foreign leader at the American inauguration. I doubt if Xi Jinping will come, actually. I mean, first of all, he doesn't necessarily want the Chinese people to think about this election idea and the transfer of power. Right. You know, it's not a big thing in the Chinese Communist Party to say, hi, it's okay to lose the election and transfer power to your opponent. That isn't how they do business over there. But in addition, these kind of giant state visits between guys at that level take months to prepare. But it's very clever of Trump because it shows how confident he is, how comfortable he is, and puts Xi Jinping in chess terms. He's in a fork. If he comes, he's sitting there while Donald Trump's the central player. If he doesn't come, it looks like he's kind of slightly afraid to be there. And so either way, Trump wins.
That is well said. Again, Newt Gingrich right here, former Speaker of the House. Two more will let you run, make way for Bill. Newt, tell me about these pardons. The president pardoned his son. Obviously, I would have done the same thing. You would have done the same thing. My issue was, why lie about it? He had every opportunity to say, you know what, I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. We'll talk about it later. Instead, adamant, no. And, of course, he does it, but it may not end with Hunter Biden. All kinds of names are being floated in the universe, from Dr. Fauci to Liz Cheney to Adam Schiff to his brother Jimmy. A whole bunch of names. What do you think? Even Hillary Clinton.
Well, I mean, first of all, I think the idea of a prospective pardon is crazy. I don't think there's any place in the Constitution. And it requires the person accepting the pardon to imply that they might be guilty. I mean, if you've never been convicted of anything, you've never been indicted, why would you want to accept a pardon? Which makes you look like you're a guilty person. Second, I think you have to recognize, this basically is the Delaware branch of the Sopranos. I mean, once you understand that, it all fits into place. His brother is a crook, his son is a crook, and by the way, he's a crook. And he lies routinely because what are you going to do? If you're the head of a small crime family, lying is a part of the job description. You don't get to be the head of a family unless you lie. And so he's been in a habit, I think, almost from the time he got elected. Delaware is a very small state. A U.S. senator is a very big job. And the family has done amazingly well over the years, almost all of it from various business deals that may or may not have been illegal, but they sure somehow related back to Joe Biden.
I had Jim Jordan on the show a couple of days ago, who, of course, leads that House Judiciary Committee, one of the more impressive congressmen in the country. You know, Newt, that him and Jim Comer out of Kentucky and all these guys have been working so hard the last couple of years to really put the big guy, as Miranda Devine taught us all, the big guy, put his feet on the fire and make him guilty. I'm not sure they're there yet. We know there's checks, there's money, but we haven't gotten to that place just yet. But Jordan did tell me, Newt, that they were not going to stop. They were going to keep going even after these pardons and Biden leaves office. Your thoughts on that?
Look, I think the American people have the right to know. They have the right to know about what happened in the FBI. They have the right to know about what happened with Fauci and COVID. They have the right to know about whether or not, in fact, the Bidens have been essentially a crime family and have lied consistently. I mean, I would coach all of it, not in terms of going to get somebody and put them in jail, but we have the right to know how badly our government has been corrupted and how badly it's been damaged. And that includes in the Defense Department and the FBI and across the whole system. And I think that my advice to Republicans would be emphasize that the American people have the right to know the truth, and our job is to get that out in the open.
Last one, Newt. I have a habit being a radio host, and I've got a very lofty opinion of myself. So I tend to rate other guys compared to me. You are a great Speaker of the House. What are your thoughts on the current guy, Mike Johnson?
I couldn't possibly do what Mike does. He
Really?
has no margin at all. It takes an enormous amount of patience He gets up every morning knowing that he's got to listen to every single one of them, including the weirdest, the dumbest, the most arrogant. I had a big enough margin. I could write off 6 or 7 crazy people,
right,
and we could still win. He can't write off anybody, and he has this deep Christian faith, and somehow he just calmly, methodically keeps putting one foot in front of the other. And I have the greatest admiration. He's very, very smart.
I agree with you. And he's a super guy. He's
terrific. I would say Pelosi was the strongest speaker in modern times because she's basically a really mean person.
Mm-hmm.
He is the nicest speaker in modern times. And candidly, in a free society, I prefer a nice, honest guy trying to bring together a majority to a thug who runs a machine.
Did you like McCarthy?
I like McCarthy. I like him personally very, very much. But the system has spun out of control, and Matt Gaetz, frankly, was a destructive force of the first order. And I'm glad that Gaetz is out of the House. But they had different situations. McCarthy had created the majority. He had raised the money. He had done everything right, but he didn't have a big enough majority, and there were 6 or 8 people who really didn't like him because he had a very strong personality. What happens with Mike Johnson is he calmly goes to each of these people and listens to them. And then he listens some more. And then he listens some more. And after a while they go, could you please quit listening? I'm tired of telling you all this stuff. But it creates an environment where they generally give him a bigger margin of error than they gave McCarthy.
Well, last one, you mentioned Matt Gaetz. So let's put this in this hypothetical. You're still the Speaker of the House. Gaetz is out. He's gone. But you still have to deal with a lady who's my friend. I happen to like her, but she's tough. Marjorie Taylor Greene. How would Newt Gingrich deal with her?
Oh, I would do exactly what Johnson's done. The more she's not like Gaetz. She's a very energetic, very aggressive person. She figured out a couple of years ago that she was too far out on being a bomb thrower. She's been working her way back in. He's given her a real job where she has to work with people, like Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, and she's going to have to grow into that person. And so, he's done a very good job of positioning her that for her to be successful, she has to be a much more mature adult and much more committed to working in a positive way. And she's rising to that occasion. I think so far, we chatted some at the convention, and I was very impressed that she's come a long way. She is not the person we remember from 2 or 3 years ago. And I think she'll keep growing, and I think that Johnson will keep nurturing her.
I agree. I'm a big fan of hers. I like MTG. I love you too, Newt. Thank you for stopping by. It was great seeing you at the rally at MSG, and please come by more often. This was a great conversation. Thank you so much.
I'll talk to you.
All right, pal. There he is, the former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich.